إلهي بأميدة لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. محمد وآل محمد صلوات. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. بسم الله please. Alhamdulillah. You have to be very careful. You are not fasting. One more salawat please. Doesn't harm. صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا وطبيب نفوسنا وحبيب قلوبنا أبي القاسم محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم. لا سيما بقية الله روحي وأرواح العالمين لمقدمه الفداء. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. إن المتقين في مقام أمين في جنات وعيون يلبسون من سندس واستبرق متقابلين كذلك وزوجناهم بحور عين. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوات. صلى على محمد وآل محمد. Respected brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Alhamdulillah alladhi hadana lihada wa ma kunna linahtadiya lawla an hadana Allah. Inshallah, I have a very sweet topic to share with you as you heard the ayat that I just recited from Surah Al-Dukhan. Just to refresh your memory, Surah Al-Dukhan, chapter 44 of the Holy Quran, is a surah that is recommended to be recited in every night of the month of Ramadan, throughout the nights of the month of Ramadan. Part of it in this surah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in description of the muttaqeen and the pious people that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَزَوَّجْنَاهُمْ بِحُورٍ عِينٍ. Starting from the part that I recited, let me translate it. إِنَّ الْمُتَّقِينَ فِي جَنَّاتٍ وَعُيُونٍ. إِنَّ الْمُتَّقِينَ فِي مَقَامٍ أَمِينٍ. Before that even, the pious people are in a very safe, secure place. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that where they are living, there are gardens and spring water, and then it speaks about their clothing until it says كَذَلِكَ وَزَوَّجْنَاهُمْ بِحُورٍ عِينٍ. We want to discover the meaning of this part of it. Such we have made the zawaj بحور العين with حور العين. In the months of Ramadan, in the dua of the nights of Qadr, especially this triggered me last night when I was reading the translation on the screen. With all respect and jazahumullah khaira, with all those who have done such a great work of translating the ayat and dua for the benefit of the English-speaking people, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward them. But I picked something that I said to myself, let me bring it up as a topic, inshallah, to discuss it today. That even we had written the dua of Zainul Abidin alayhi salam, وَمِنَ الْحُورِ الْإِينَ فَزَوَّجْنَا. You remember this phrase in the dua. And of the huris, it was translated that wed us. Or in other translation, in another night I noticed that marry us to Hurul Ayn. Is this the right translation or not? Usually when we speak about the Hurul Ayn, and as a marriage counselor, with all respect sisters, when I have a discussion either with the ladies on marital issues or the gents, I tell the ladies that if your husband is upset and you want to bring a smile to his face, you tell him when you are upset with him, say that if you do this, you will be deprived of the huris in paradise. Believe me, they behave better. Or if you want to encourage them, you say that inshallah you will get huris in paradise. They will be motivated and excited. Well, tonight I may burst your bubbles, brothers. Bear with me until I discuss it, and please hear me out, the analysis and discussion. Inshallah, we are going to have a very brief scholarly discussion about this. What is the meaning of وَزَوَّجْنَاهُمْ بِحُورٍ عِينٍ, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned? Is it that Quran really is talking about having certain, I don't know, as typical translation also. You go to Surah Dukhan, and I've checked so many translations of the Quran. The typical translation is that like as if God has some fair, I don't know, with beautiful girls in paradise reserved for the pious people, and they will marry them and consummate their marriage and all the rest of it. And also fooling some of those ignorant people. I really, what can we do? Unfortunately, fooling certain ignorant people under the guise of this ISIS and things like that, you remember, and still fooling them that go and kill Shi'an and God will give you 72 houris in paradise. To vilify Islam, non-Muslims even, and anti-Muslims on Western media, you see that they are ridiculing Islam. Part of it is because of this, that Muslim men and are going to fight and jeopardizing their life in the hope that in paradise God will give them 72 houris to have fun with and all the rest of it. Is this really Islam? Is this really Quran? And is this the correct interpretation of the ayat of the Quran? This is inshallah something that we want to discover tonight with salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala introduces the bliss in paradise to us according to the pure teachings of the Quran, categorically I categorize the different types of bliss and blessings in paradise into 4 categories. The first category is the category of the blessings in paradise that we have a worldly terminology for them. Whether they are exactly the same or not, obviously I don't think anyone has any dispute that they are not exactly the same, but there is a worldly terminology. Like for example, repeatedly you are familiar with this phrase in the Quran, وَجَنَّاتٍ تَجْرِي مِن تَحْتِهَا الْأَنْهَارِ, gardens beneath which rivers flow. In dunya we have gardens, we have rivers that flow. Kind of we have an idea what God is talking about, yes? So that's what I said, that we have worldly words for it when God is talking about gardens beneath which rivers flow. Or in Surah Ar-Rahman, مدهامتان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان فيهما فاكهة ونخل ورمان. We know what the فاكهة fruits are. We know what the palm, nakhl, date palm is. Rumman, pomegranate. You know, these are worldly words. Obviously, the pomegranate in the hereafter in paradise is not the same as the pomegranate in Iran. Like, for example, in Save we have or any pomegranate, Turkey or wherever. But pomegranate, it must be something similar that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to introduce that heavenly bliss to us, there must be something like a fruit similar to what we have today. As Quran says, وَأُوتُوا بِهِ مُتَشَابِهًا, something similar, not exactly the same. One of those who had a vision and experience like going to paradise and having that pomegranate, he was saying that it looked like pomegranate, but not the pomegranate that I had in my life. And that's why that pomegranate in my vision, I was having it with the skin and everything. It was so delicious, so nice, I cannot describe it, that I just ate all of it, not only the seeds. But anyway, so this is one category of the bliss in paradise that we have worldly terminologies for it, yes? The second is that we have worldly terminologies, but there is no example for it in dunya. Like for example, Quran in Surah Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Quran in description of certain rivers in paradise says, وَأَنْهَارٌ مِنْ لَبَنٍ لَمْ يَتَغَيَّرْ طَعْمُهُ. There are rivers of milk that their tastes are not changed, meaning that rivers of milk that they don't get contaminated. Now we have rivers in dunya, we have milk in dunya, but rivers of milk doesn't exist in Iran, yes? That's why I said that there is no example for it. We have the words individually, but there is no examples. Nowhere in the world I have heard that there is a river of milk to go and experience, and especially that doesn't contaminate. Or وَأَنْهَارٌ مِنْ عَسَلٍ مُصَفَّى, rivers of pure honey. So we have honey and pure honey, but rivers of honey we don't know of. Yes, this is the second category of the bliss in paradise. The third category is the category of the bliss in paradise that we don't even have any example for it in this dunya. Like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in Surah Al-Qiyamah says, وَجُوهٌ يَوْمَئِذٍ نَاظِرَةٌ إِلَىٰ رَبِّهَا نَاظِرَةٌ. One of the delights of paradise, which is for the high level of people in paradise, is that faces on that days are delight, happy. The second part, إِلَىٰ رَبِّهَا نَاظِرَةٌ, looking, literal translation, looking at the Lord. Is it possible to look at the Lord, at God? What does it mean? In dunya, impossible. In akhirah, impossible. Yes? Riwayat of, and this is why, by the way, one of the very ambiguous ayat and controversial ayat. Shia and Sunni have different interpretations about it. Sunnis insist that in the hereafter in paradise, yes, you see God because of this. I had a student, I was running a course on Islamic theology, and a student was in the class who was Sunni, and a sheikh, Sunni sheikh. He left the class when I told him that even in Akhirah it's impossible to see God. God is not physical, God is not spiritual, God is the creator of matter and spirit. But anyway, riwayat of Ahlul Bayt al-Musalam, they said, إِلَىٰ رَبِّهَا نَاظِرَةٌ, looking at the Lord, meaning that looking forward to receive their blessings. It's just like you're looking at the door in anticipation of the guests to arrive. Not that you are looking at it. This looking is yani looking forward, in better translation. This is also the third category. The fourth category that I tell you that all the previous ones in fact fall into this as well is in Surah Al-Sajdah, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in describing the bliss that God has reserved for people who are Ahl Tahajjud, Ahl Namaz Shab, Ahl Istighfar al-Mustaghfirina bil-Ashar. This has been part of their lifestyle. Quran says, do you know what I have reserved for them? فَلَا تَعْلَمُ نَفْسٌ مَا أُخْفِيَ لَهُم مِّن قُرَّةِ أَعْيُنٍ. Nobody knows what is reserved for them. Nobody knows. Humbly, I tell you that all what we read in the Quran and in the riwayat about the bliss in paradise and chastisement in hell, the truth of fact is nobody knows the truth of it until and unless we go and experience it. Simply because terminologies and vocabularies we have are given to us to use for dunya. The brain that we have is given to us to use for dunya. We don't have the brain to comprehend akhirah. We don't have the vocabulary to express the akhirah. Even the Holy Prophet who has gone to Mi'raj and came back, and the Quran, the best description, still the vocabulary does not have the capacity to deliver the reality of it. That's why Quran says, فَلَا تَعْلَمُ نَفْسٌ, nobody knows. Keep this in mind. Question now is this. al-Ayn that are explained and described in the Quran as the blessing of paradise fall into which one of these four categories? Do we have any word for it in dunya? Do we have any creation in dunya that there are huri and al-Ayn to say that like similar to pomegranate? Which one it will fall? First of all, the first point, because Quran says وَزَوَّجْنَاهُمْ بِحُورٍ عِينٍ, I'm analyzing it. The first analysis is that Quran is talking about izdawaj and zawaj. You are inshallah familiar with that. In your culture it's more common, you call the term nikah. Have you done the nikah? We have done the nikah, or we have made a booking for the nikah to be a certain date. Is there any difference between nikah and zawaj in Arabic? Often they are used interchangeably, but yes, there is a difference. The difference is that in Arabic, pure Arabic language, when you are using the term nikah, it means sexual intercourse, it means consummating the marriage, it means marriage as you are talking, we understand. Yes? And it's used very often in the Quran as well. In several, most of the time with reference to what we call it today, marital relationship, Quran is using the term nikah, وَأَنْكِحُوا الْأَيَامَ وَأَنْكِحُوا مَا طَابَ لَكُم مِّنَ النِّسَاءِ, all the rest of it. Zawaj, sometimes it means marriage, but not always it means marriage. Zawaj, literally, zoj, fard in Arabic means odd, zoj means even. Yes? The reason that husband and wife, the term zawaj in Arabic is used because they become pair. They are not single anymore. Yes? So this pairness can exist among the birds, among the flowers, among furnitures. When you make two furniture exactly the same, one on this side of the lounge room, another one, you are pairing them, yes? To make it more semantic or things like that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, as in this world we have created everything in pair, وَمِن كُلِّ شَيْءٍ خَلَقْنَا زَوْجَيْنِ, in the hereafter, Surah At-Takwir, وَإِذَا النُّفُوسُ زُوِّجَتْ وَإِذَا الْمَوْءُودَةُ سُئِلَتْ. إِذَا النُّفُوسُ زُوِّجَتْ. Nufus, the proform of nafs, souls. All souls in the hereafter will be زُوِّجَتْ. Literally may, this is not the right translation, but one may translate it that in the hereafter all the souls will be married. This is definitely incorrect translation. It's not that souls will be married to one another. إِذَا النُّفُوسُ زُوِّجَتْ. The correct translation here is to say that in the hereafter the souls will be paired. What Quran apparently is trying to say, and God knows best, is that in the hereafter your status in paradise, brother, sister, souls, in fact whether male or female, this issue of mahram, no-mahram will disappear once you are out of this realm of dunya. Yes, once you are in barzakh and in the hereafter, do you know where you will be accommodated in paradise? Inshallah, none of us is hellbound. With someone who is of your kind, your level, iman, amal saleh and everything. This is called in Arabic tazweej. إِذَا النُّفُوسُ زُوِّجَتْ, yani in the hereafter, whether in hell or in heaven. And I'll give you more examples from the Quran. Every individual will have a companion of his or her level. Let me give you an example from paradise, better to sweetening your taste with salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. In Surah Zukhruf, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is addressing people of paradise. Udkhulul jannata antum wa azwajukum tuhbarun. Udkhulul jannata antum wa azwajukum tuhbarun. You men who were looking after their family members, men who did their duty as a husband, as a father, and all those who mashallah made it, humble, pious father, humble, pious husband, in the hereafter, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the literal translation is this: you men, azwajukum, and your like partners, let's say, enter paradise, tuhbarun, in delight, happily you and your wives, if you like to say, go to paradise. Now, if we want to say that this applies to all people of paradise, it should be for all people of paradise, isn't it? Because Quran is talking about muttaqeen. Muttaqeen includes the prophets, imams, and all muttaqeen in any level of taqwa that they are. God is addressing all muttaqeen in Surah Zukhruf and says that you, and I'm just literary translation to show you the flow in the translation. You and your wives, you pious men, go to paradise happily. The problem of this translation is that we have pious men in dunya, we've had in the past, and in the future will be also as well. There are pious men in dunya that their wives, they were not pious. Pious men in dunya that their wives were not believers. Or on the other way around, we've had pious ladies that their husbands were not even believers. Such as the example of what? ضرب الله مثلا للذين كفروا امرأة نوح وامرأة لوط. In Surah At-Tahrim, Quran says that we give you an example of females who were kafir. One of them the wife of Nuh, another one the wife of Lut. So in the hereafter, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling Prophet Nuh and Lut, enter paradise with your wives. Impossible. Quran says impossible for a kafir to go to paradise. So the meaning of azwaj here doesn't mean your spouses, whether husband or wife. It must have another meaning. What I'm suggesting tonight is that azwaj here means you and of your kind. You and people of your level. God says that inshallah, inshallah, Ya Rab, with your dua, inshallah, I die as a moment. Sheikh Mansour, you go to paradise, you will be accommodated in paradise with someone of your type, of your level of iman, or your level of practice, and everyone like this. This is called a kind of companionship, partnership. It's not about husband and wife relationship or things like that. That's the only way this ayah could mean. Otherwise, there will be this ayah, this translation will be in conflict with the rest of the Quran. Now the other side of it, looking at the bad side of it, Quran is addressing people of hell also as well. احشروا الذين ظلموا وأزواجهم احشروا الذين ظلموا وأزواجهم, yes, وما كانوا يعبدون من دون الله. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, let الذين ظلموا, yani the wrongdoers, the wrong believers. الذين ظلموا in the Quran, usually it means the wrong believers and the wrongdoers, like kafirin and those who did wrong. Associate them, احشروا, yani associate them, resurrect them. The wrongdoers, the wrong believers, وَأَزْوَاجَهُمْ. Does it mean their wives? No. Because one of the Zalimin definitely was Fir'aun. Does it mean that Fir'aun and his wife Asiya will be associated in hell? With what? Of course not. So, احشروا الذين ظلموا وأزواجهم وما كانوا يعبدون. Definitely azwaj here doesn't mean spouses. Although the term zoj. So what does it mean? Similar to paradise. Yani God is telling also people of hell as well that you people of hell, you will be associated, you will be paired with people of your level of kufr, evil action and everything else. And whatever that you believe together, enjoy the as in dunya you had the company of each other, in hereafter also enjoy your company. Am I making any sense? If I do, say salawat. Now, another point to add to this, a little bit of delicacy here, but I need your attention, inshallah. Remember, I told you that the term zawaj in Arabic often is used interchangeably for nikah as well, under one condition. And you can find this point in some of the more advanced Arabic lexicons like Lisan al-Arab. For the researchers, I mentioned my reference also as well. Ibn Manzur in Lisan al-Arab mentions that if you go to the Quran, and today with the help of all these apps, very easy to find out. Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He is using the term zawaj for marriage, is using it without ba. Because in Arabic, you don't need ba for marriage. Like in Surah Al-Ahzab, in the story of, long story short, Zayd married the stepson of the Prophet, married Zainab, the cousin of the Prophet. The marriage didn't work out, and they ended up in divorce. After her iddah is finished, God is telling the Prophet that go and marry Zainab. Even though Zayd was his stepson, in the Arabic culture, a stepson, adopted son, was treated as a real son. God wants to say that your adopted son or daughter is not your biological child. Because if it were a biological child, you cannot marry your daughter-in-law, even after your son has divorced her. But a stepson is not your biological son. Therefore, after the divorce, you can marry her. Deliberately to make this culture change into an Islamic culture, Quran says, God is telling the Prophet, please listen carefully. وَزَوَّجْنَاكَهَا. Did you hear the sound of ba? وَزَوَّجْنَاكَهَا. There is no ba existing here. It means God is telling the Prophet, now we married her to you. This is marriage. But when it comes to other than marriage, partnership, pairing, association, ba comes in between to separate. Yani you are not thinking about like consummation or things like that. That's everywhere you check it. Everywhere in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about pairing with huris. Number one, impossible, whether in the ayat or riwayat, ever the term nikah is used. Because in Arabic, nikah means for marriage. Quran never uses the term nikah for the huris, number one. That hints that, so God is not talking about marriage with the houris, number one. Number two, zawaj is used, but with ba. That if it was marriage, you didn't need the ba in Arabic language. Like this in Surah Al-Dukhan, وَزَوَّجْنَاهُمْ بِحُورٍ عِينٍ. This ba here does the job to give you this hint that God is not talking about marital relationship with the houris. This is number one. So far as the verb is used, zawajna, we understand that we are not talking about marriage. That's what I said, burst in your bubbles and don't think that you're going to go to paradise. Don't jeopardize your life unnecessarily. First of all, those narrations are fake narrations, to make it very clear. We don't have it in the Shia books of hadith. Kill a Shia and 72 houris are yours and all. This is your wishful thought. You know, they say that when they go there, what they receive is that you got me wrong. And surprise that you lost your life and you also go to hell. Because clearly Quran says, وَمَنْ قَتَلَ مُؤْمِنًا مُتَعَمِّدًا فَجَزَاؤُهُ جَهَنَّمْ. Killing an innocent believer, the recompense is none other than hellfire. So this is about the zawaj. The other terms used with relation to the houris, inshallah, if with salawat you help me, I will analyze it for you as well. Wallah, my jaw drops when we delve into the tadabbur of the Quran. Tonight we want, in months of Ramadan, we want to do tadabbur, delving more into the depths of the Quran. Without any exception, anywhere Quran is talking about the houris is using a noun in plural form. Hurun in, both huri and its description in always come in plural. You know why? Subhanallah. Because hur is the plural form of either ahwar or hawra. In other words, I'm sorry if I may sound a little bit technical, but I will inshallah simplify it. The term hur, if you want to convert it to singular, the form of the male and female is different, simple terms. If it's a male that you want to say that, like for example, their eyes is like hur, you say ahwar, rajulun ahwar. If it's a female, you say imra'atun hawra. You're familiar with hawra in CF for Fatima Zahra, yes? Singular. But when you convert it to plural, whether male or female, you say hur. Therefore, when you use it in plural, you don't know whether the speaker means male or female. Is it coincidence that God is always using plural? That doesn't want you to know whether God is talking about male or female? So how come you guys came up with a female interpretation? That's your interpretation. The term has nothing to do with that. The same for in. Hurun in. وَزَوَّجْنَاهُمْ بِحُورٍ in. Subhanallah. Not many words in Arabic are like this. In Arabic also it means white, open white eye. If it's a male and one male you want to say, you say rajulun a'yan. If it's a female, you say imra'atun ayna. But when it's plural, you say in, whether male or female. So neither hur nor in tells us whether God is talking about male or female. Don't form your opinion that God is talking about girls and females or things like that. Go to the translations of the Quran now with this explanation. I have not come across any translation. As I said, I'm privy to many translations of the Quran. In Surah Al-Dukhan, وَزَوَّجْنَاهُمْ بِحُورٍ in, you see that they are usually, that's the typical translation. We marry them to women with wide open, beautiful eyes. Where did you get this term, women? Women, come on, I know that little Arabic, huh? Women in Arabic means nisa. I don't see nisa in the ayah. وَزَوَّجْنَاهُمْ بِحُورٍ in. Or maybe women means mu'minat, female believers. There is no mu'minat in the ayah. Also banat, girls. There is no banat. Where did you get this woman from? This is your own imagination translation. Remember the first night I told you that I'm sharing with you some principles to tell you why confusion comes, why misgiving goes. Sometimes meaning is lost in translation. This is a prime example of it. وَزَوَّجْنَاهُمْ بِحُورٍ عِينٍ. Now what's the meaning of حور عين? Hurun in, let me make it very clear, brothers and sisters, and I challenge you, and I've done my homework, and humbly I have run a course on this topic. I'm just giving you a gist of it. In Arabic language, there is no human being that in the real sense of it is hawra or ahwar, a'yan or ayna. Yani there is no human that has this description. This description of hurun in is a metaphor. Is not real, it's a metaphor. The real example of it doesn't exist among the humans. They say, like for example, cow, a cow, whether cow or bull, for example, their eyes are wide open, you can say a'yan or ayna, whether female, what do you call female cow? We should say cow for the female, yes, or bull for the male. Now, if it's a deer, D-E-E-R, we use hawra or ahwar, male or female. I don't know what is the female of deer or male of the, I'm not familiar, I'm not in the bush. Living there, I'm not living there. But for the it is used for the humans, but metaphorically. Hawra is coming from the root of ahwar, hawra, hawara, hara, yahuro, yani raja'a. I give you an example from the Quran. وَظَنَّ أَنَّهُ لَنْ يَحُورُ وَظَنَّ أَنْ لَنْ يَحُورُ ظَنَّ أَنْ لَنْ يَحُورُ يعني this guy who is hellbound, he assumed that he will never be brought back to God. And now upon his death, he sees that he is before God for his judgment and everything. حَارَ يَحُورُ يعني رَجَعَ يعني return. Why huris are called huris? Let me give you, relieve you. Baba, our understanding is that huris of paradise are called huris because they return to you. Because Quran in Surah Ar-Rahman says, Hal jaza'ul ihsan illa al-ihsan. Is the recompense for righteousness, goodness other than goodness? Riwayat. Now we're going to go to the riwayat of Ahlul Bayt. Remember I said Ibn Abil Hadith says that if it was possible to prostrate before a speech, we would prostrate before the words of Amirul Mu'minin. Here is the example. Without the explanation, description, and of really the teachings of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, we would have been lost. Imams of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, they say when you recite Dua Joshan Kabir, you are making the reality of, in dunya it's called Joshan Kabir, and you are reciting it, yes? In the hereafter, it changed to the reality of Joshan Kabir, that is huris. In dunya you are fasting. Now you know why Imams of Ahlul Bayt during the nights of the months of Ramadan they say وَزَوَّجْنِي مِنَ الْحُورِ. Do you know what does it mean? If you want to uncode it, Yani Ya Allah accept my fasting. زَوَّجْنِي مِنَ الْحُورِ الْعِينِ, Yani Ya Allah accept my fasting. Because the riwayat says, here it is, مَا مِنْ عَبْدٍ, word for word, مَا مِنْ عَبْدٍ يَصُومُ شَهْرَ رَمَضَانَ, no slave of Allah that fasts during the months of Ramadan, إِلَّا زُوَّجَ زَوْجَةً مِنَ الْحُورِ الْعِينِ, unless will be paired with one of the huris. Yani the reality of fasting of the months of Ramadan is Hurul In in the hereafter. The reality of Joshan Kabir, Hurul In. The reality of reciting the Quran, Hurul In. The reality of like extinguishing your anger. A man, unfortunately, with all respect, although sometimes these days things are changing, but it's quite common, unfortunately, among the young men to have anger issue. And I always tell them you have to go for anger management. A man who is extinguishing his anger at home and he is not yelling at his wife, a lady who is extinguishing her anger and is not yelling at her husband, do you know what God gives you in return? Huris in paradise to enjoy their company. Make no mistake, huris are not only for males, huris are for people of paradise. Males or female is not an issue. Prime example of it, there are riwayat that the Holy Prophet says, when Bibi Fatima Salamullah alayha enters her palace in paradise, she will be escorted with 12,000 of her huris. Huris are not only for, we are not, please, don't distort religion, don't distort the Quran, don't think that God is just talking about things that guys they like to fantasize about in their mind. This is absolutely haram. This is called tafsir bil-ray. to interpret the Quran according to my whim and desire. And then people, and sometimes some ladies say, Sheikh, how come that only guys have got huris? I say, where did you get this from? Now, where did you get this from? There's no such things. There's no guy or girl. There's no males or females. There's no such things in the hereafter. Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam, the crystallization of piety, taqwa, such a pure Imam that has nothing to do with all these things. One night he's dressed up and he's going to Masjid al-Nabi, cold night of winter night in Medina. Somebody saw Imam and says, Ya Ibn Rasulallah, are you going for the wedding? MashaAllah, you're dressed up like this. Along with his conversation, Imam says that I'm going to what? أريد أخطب الحور العين إلى الله تعالى. I'm going to ask for the hand of the huris from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Question: what was Imam Zainul Abidin going to masjid for? Was he going to marry anyone? Or he was going to do tahajjud, namaz shab, ibadat, dua, and all these supplications narrated to us? So Imam is telling us the reality of dua. Abu Hamza, for example, is the huris in it. And huris are beautiful creation of God. Abu Basir is coming and asking the Prophet, what's the time? Allah Akbar. Is asking the Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, Ya Ibn Rasulallah, huris, are they made of something from dunya? Khalqun min khalq dunya or min khalq al-akhirah? Because they say there are some women of dunya that become huri. Baba, Quran clearly, when we read the Quran, reflect on it. لم يطمثهن إنس قبلهم ولا جان. Surah Ar-Rahman. No human or jinn has ever touched them before. If they were women of dunya, they would have been touched by someone. No, this is not that they are. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says they are created from the nur of paradise. They are nurani creation of God. How can I say? And as I said, something that we need to go and experience those beautiful creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Don't think of male or female things like that. Another situation, Abu Basir comes and says that, what are the hurul in? Imam says that, ma anta wa dhak alayka bi salat al-layl. You want huris? Go pray. These are the bliss of paradise that will be created for you in paradise. You will enjoy their company in paradise. But it will be given to you if you are Ahl Tahajjud, if you are Ahl Salat, and all the rest of it. And to conclude, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam is quoting from his grandfather, the Holy Prophet, to say, Inna Allah ta'ala fataqa nur al-Husayn alayhi salam. The Almighty God displayed the nur of the soul, of the nuraniyat of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. فَخَلَقَ مِنْهُ الْجَنَانِ. From that nur, heavens are created. وَالْحُورَ الْعِينَ, and Hur al-Ayn are created from the nur of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. And then the Holy Prophet, maybe I say this is not from the hadith, maybe that's why Imam Zaman in the Ziyarat al-Na'iyah says, when Imam Hussain alayhi salam was martyred, وَلَطَمَتِ الْحُورُ الْعِينَ عَلَى وَجْهَهُ. The Huris started hitting themselves. Because the creation of Huris they are created from the nur of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. As I said, what is the reality of these words of ahadith? Inshallah, when we meet in paradise, I don't need to explain it anymore to you. You experience it all. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Turn your souls, inshallah, towards Karbala, speaking about Imam Hussain alayhi salam, to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in honor of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. Ya Abu Abdullah, Ya Hussein ibn Ali, ayyuha al-Shaheed, Ya Hujjat Allah ala khalqih, Ya Sayyidana wa Mawlana, inna tawajjahna wa istashfa'na wa tawassalna bika ila Allah, wa qaddamnaka bayna yaday hajatina, Ya wajihan inda Allah, اشفع لنا عند الله يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. صلوات.